Welcome. This is a small tutorial on PlanWebSpace, which is a unique system for designing websites. So let's start. Here is the website of PlanWebSpace open for you. I'll dive directly into the start page. The start page, you see two forms here. The top form is used for creating your own account. If you don't have one, it is free. Currently it is free. Then the lower one is where I will use and log in. Here, that's my password now. And the third one is this drawing name, which I have to give. By default, web.svg is created for you, so you use that. Now let's open up the editing space. The editing area will now open. In the meantime, let me explain what is a web space. Web space, according to us, can be the entire website, or it can be part of the website. It's up to you. You can choose to integrate a design created using PlanWebSpace into something which you already have, an entire website which you already have somewhere else, or you can create an entirely new website entirely using PlanWebSpace. Now in this editing area, you see a small help here. This is not the main help. The main help is on the main website. This is the documentation there, and I strongly suggest that after this tutorial you read the documentation and it will all make sense. Here in this editing area, you see 6 utilities. 3 of them are created by us, and these 3 are external websites which we have pulled in and we are using in this particular editing area, so that you don't have to go anywhere else. So using this drawing editor, you can change the drawing of your website. You have to create only one drawing. It's as simple as that. And using this content editor, you can insert content and text into your drawing in the appropriate locations in your drawing, and you can also do certain other controls using this content editor. Here is a template creator which does not directly generate a template for you, but it will give you a small grid, a beautiful grid as per your taste, and you can choose that to use it inside your drawing. The external utilities which we have is a menu creator, which allows you to create navigation menus for your website. You have a CSS creator. CSS stands for cascading style sheets, and the syntax and all many people may not understand, so this helps you create that syntax, and you can just simply copy and paste from here into your content editor, which will show you how to do that. What CSS does is that it helps you stylize the text which you insert in your web space. Then there's an image search, which is a nice little utility which searches Flickr quite cleverly, and then you can locate suitable images which you can then later on use in your web space. So there you are. 6 editors, 6 utilities: the drawing editor, the content editor, the template creator, the menu creator, the CSS creator, and the image search. So let's start with the drawing editor. But before that, let me tell you, you will be continuously switching between the drawing editor and the content editor. Some people may like to do that. Some people may first like to make just the drawing and then later on go around fleshing out the contents separately. A few others may first start with the contents and then later on decide what kind of drawing should be made to receive those contents. It's up to you. You can usually, I prefer to switch between the two as per my convenience. That's what my style is, but the style can vary. It's up to you. Now, what is the drawing? The drawing is the one which is used to display your web design, and by default this particular drawing is given to you when you create an account, and this drawing is loaded to you loaded in this editor, and you see the name here, web.svg. If you click on that, it will get saved into your account, and we strongly suggest that you should do that as you keep editing, so that you don't lose any changes. Similarly, in the contents also, you have to continuously use this particular link, that is save the currently editing snip. But let me get back to the drawing. A drawing editor has got a few tools on the left hand side, which is quite similar to what you would see in many drawing software. It's a very simple drawing software. and you can create lines and rectangles and ellipses and all kinds of things here. And you can even insert images. This button is used for inserting an image. At the bottom you have certain controls which is used to control the attributes like the fill color, the line thickness, and the opacity and things like that. On the top it will show you the various information about the thing which you have selected here, the drawing which you have selected here. On the right hand side there is a small tab which is for the layers, and you can see what all layers are available in your particular drawing. This concept of layers is pretty similar to what you would see in a drawing software or in a slideshow software like PowerPoint. So you have something called a master layer, and the other layers are used for various contents. The master layer is something which is always seen, and any element which you create on the master layer will always be visible. It will never become invisible. So you normally would be creating your navigation controls on the master layer so that you can navigate between various layers. I'll show you how to do that. Now the objective of designing in this particular using this system is that you have to design, of course, the way you want it. There is no fixed idea about what designing should be. It's up to your choice. So I just created an ellipse here. I chose some color for that, and I changed the border for that. And then you have to remember one thing: when you use this particular tools, the tool gets permanently selected unless you click another tool. So you have to be careful, because if I now click here, anywhere here, I'll get another ellipse, which I don't want to do that. So I'll use this particular select tool, and then I can drag that around based on what I like. So that's an ellipse. Okay, I'll delete it. I don't want that. So you go around changing and designing the way you would normally do to create something attractive. And the basic objective is to create certain rectangles. These rectangles, some of these rectangles can be used to receive content from the content editor, and some other rectangles can be used to create navigation links or navigation buttons. I'll show you how to do both of them. So here is a rectangle for you, and this rectangle is in layer 1, and in this layer this particular rectangle is called myrect.md. Now the extension is critical. This .md means that the content which goes into this particular rectangle is text, all right, but it is using a syntax known as markdown. If you search on the internet, you'll get to know how markdown syntax is written. It allows you to create things which are bold, and you can create tables, and you can create various HTML stuff. Now instead of dragging you into HTML editing, you can use markdown editing, and using that markdown editor you can insert text. Now where is that editor? That editor is here in the content editor. So the moment I switched from drawing to contents, you notice that it has intelligently figured out that you were last sitting on this particular rectangle called myrect.md. So it's written down that name here. Now what is this particular name? This name is the same name as that of this rectangle, which is myrect.md. Now what happens is that this content editor does not edit just one thing. It edits any number of snips. Snip is a piece of text which you write, which is either used directly into your web design, or it is used to set controls depending on what the extension is. There are two snips which is given to you by default. One is called main.txt and one is called .properties. I strongly suggest that you don't edit these two, because these are critical for the functioning of your web space design. I'll tell you what these two are later on. Right now let's concentrate on the content for myrect.md. Now myrect.md is a new snip. It's not yet created, so I click on start a new snip. So there it is, myrect.md. Now I'm creating this on December 31st, so happy new year to everybody. So I'll write happy new year. welcome to PlanWebSpace. Now this Happy New Year, I will want to make it in bold or something like that. So I'll do this and let's see how that looks. Oops, that's not the syntax, sorry. I'll start it with couple of exclamation marks. Let's see. That's a preview button. Oh no, it's not that either. I use these two. Okay, now I preview the markdown. Oh yes, now it has become bold. Now similarly, there are other controls which you can do, other instructions you can give in markdown to make it bold and italics and all. So if I use just one asterisk at both the ends of this particular sentence, you see what happens. It turns into italics. So there it is, Happy New Year in bold and welcome to PlanWebSpace in italics. I'll save this. Now when I save this is a web space design, the actual drawing into which the data will go. Now where will it go? It will go into this particular rectangle. It knows where to go, so it goes into this particular rectangle. Now I'll save this also. So it says web space design saved successfully, and I'll click here because I want to preview what I've done. There it is. So it is now previewing it. For the time being, don't worry about the wooden background which you see here, that I will tell you why that is. And so there you are, you have welcome and you have a Happy New Year, welcome to PlanWebSpace. The content has now magically appeared into that rectangle. So like in any intelligent CMS system, it's important to create the look of the thing separate from the content. So the content is here and the look is here. So you have achieved separation between what is the data and how the data looks finally on your web design. The more things you can do to dress up the data, that I will tell you a little later. So you have this rectangle, and in that rectangle, this particular piece of data has gone into that rectangle. Let me tell you a little bit more about this master layer. The master layer is a layer where you insert elements such as the title of your website or your company name or something which is important, which will be seen on all the pages of your web design. Yes, this particular system allows you to have multiple pages. Now how do you do that? You have to create more layers for it. So I'll just create one more layer. I'll call it layer 2. So that is layer 2. I'll shift that down. So that's after layer 1, it's layer 2. Now I'm selected layer 2, and in this layer 2 I will create one more rectangle here. Let's create it like this. Now remember, this particular rectangle and the second earlier rectangle, they will not be seen together because that's in another layer, this is in another layer. So now this color I'll change to yellow. Okay. And this name of this rectangle, I'll call it as info.md. Okay. Now what I do is I save this drawing. There it is saved. I go to the content editor, and then I will, the info.md is shown here. It's not shown here, that means it's a new snip. So I for you. Read more help from the main website of PlanWebSpace. Okay, I save that. It's very important that you save your work. So you keep flipping between the drawing and the contents. Now let me preview this. Since this preview is already open, all I do is I come here and refresh this particular page. Now you'll see something very surprising. You'll find that whatever you have typed actually does not appear. The reason is that when the web space is loaded the very first time, it loads only the elements of the master layer and the elements of layer 1. But this particular yellow rectangle we had created was on layer 2. This was on layer 2, this particular rectangle. So that's not seen, it is hidden. All the other layers are hidden. Now you have to have some control by which that particular layer is brought back into visibility. So that's how you switch between one layer to the other layer. So how do you do that? So first you have to select the master layer, because that's a place where you insert elements which is used, which will be visible all the time. So I create a rectangle there. I give it another color, let's say this color, okay, or maybe this color. Now I create this rectangle here and I call that menu1.clk. Now I save this and then I go to the content editor. There it is, menu1.clk is created for you. I start that snip and then now I will write just one sentence. I'll just right click, it's all small letters, and then I will write in quotation marks, I will write which is a layer it has to go to, layer 2. What should be the title displayed on that button? Info. What should be the tooltip? Here is some info. And what should be the color of that particular? So I say green. Now I save this. So that is saved. And I have saved the drawing also. So I'll save it again just in case. Now what has happened is, let's preview it. So I come here and if I preview that, I'll see that particular rectangle which is actually a button. So there is a button over there. Oops, it's not showing it. It's not showing the button clearly. That means I have made a mistake somewhere in the, I think this green has to be given in quotation marks. Okay. So all of them are in quotation marks. So I come here and I again refresh. There it is. Okay, so I have got this. The moment I put my mouse over that particular button, it becomes green and it tells me, if I hover it for some more time, it will give me the tooltip which says here is some info. The moment I click that, see what happens. There it is. This is the second layer. Now why was this seen? This particular two elements, this line here, this line with an arrow and this some instructions here, why are they seen? Because these two elements are still in the master layer, and as I told you, the master layer, all the elements in the master layer will be displayed all the time. So there it is. So I can see the info. So let me go back and delete those two things. So I'm on the master here. So I delete this. And I delete this. Okay, so I don't need that. And I save it. Now let me refresh it again and you'll find a cleaner looking web space. So there it is. That's the title. That's a button. This is the initial Happy New Year rectangle. I click on that, that rectangle disappears and the other rectangle appears, which is, this is some information for you, whatever which I had written in my content editor. So I have, now how do I go back? There is nothing to go back. So I'll insert another control to go back. Or maybe, what if I click on this welcome? And that should bring me back to the home page. So for that, I don't have to really create a control. What I do is that I use this text. I select this text in the master, which is welcome. But I think I should change the name of the site. I'll say India. Okay. Now here, what I do is I will insert a hyperlink. So I click on this hyperlink and I erase that, and I say JavaScript, and I write switch to current, and in apostrophe I say layer 1. Now it's important to note the capitalization of this. Switch is in small letter, to the capital of T, 2, that is, the first letter of 2, T is capital. Current, the first letter is capital, so that is switch to current. There are no spaces in between, and that's the layer 1 which I wanted to switch to. So I do that, save that here, come here, refresh. So my website is evolving, my web space is evolving. So here you are, India has come here. I click here, I get this. Now I want to go back, I click back on India. There it is, I've come back. So here it is, and here it is. Here is that, here is that. So that's neat. So it allows me to using one single page. This is one single page CMS system, one of the few ones which is available on the internet. You don't have to do any programming. Using a simple drawing, you have a single page web space system, web designing system, which is pretty neat. Okay, now I have certain quarrels with this. For example, I'm not particularly happy with the font of this particular text, or this text for that matter. So I want to change it, and it is nudging too close to this rectangle. I want to put in some margin. So what I do, I go back to my plan web space editing area. Then now I'll use the CSS creator, and I will choose some fonts and things like that which I want to use. Now here is a preview of the text which gets displayed. Now I will choose the font, so I click on that and I'll say, okay, I want that. I want a text color of, say, this text color, whatever that is, that's tan. I want to use a size of, say, 12 points. Okay, there it is. Now that's a preview. This is how it's going to look. I think the tan is too dull, so I'll make it darker color. So I'll say, okay, fine. So this is how it will look. The text will look. Now what I do is that, okay, you can play around with all that. Now this is a code which you need to copy. So what I do is that I copy this entire code from that X onwards. Right click and copy. Go back to my content editor. Now this is the rectangle which I want to dress up. Now this rectangle is called myrec.md. Now how do I create a style sheet for it? So what I do is simply write .css for myrec.md. So it's called myrec.md.css, and I start a new snip, and here I paste whatever I had copied from the CSS creator. So whatever I copied from here, oops, it went back to that other one. So I paste it into myrec.md. Okay, I remove this X, and I write rect over there, and I save that. Okay, now when I do that, let me preview this. Let's see what happens. So when I preview that, you'll find that particular text has been dressed up exactly the way you had instructed. This is critical. You have to use #rect. This is a mnemonic which indicates that all this style which is between these curly braces applies to that particular rectangle, whatever it is. And the name of that rectangle happens to be myrec.md. So this particular style will go to the text of myrec.md. As simple as that. Now I want the margin also. So what I now do is go back to the CSS. Then I say, okay, I want some I don't know where the margin is. Margin should be position, no, layout, borders. Okay, there it is, margin. So I want a margin of 10 points. Okay, I want a margin of 10 points, but how come it's not being displayed here? Font size. Oh, I have to set this 10 point. There it is. So now I copy that. It has got the instruction for the margin also. Come back here, go to my rect dot this thing, and I change that. I remove this X from there, and I save that. Come back to my preview, refresh. There it is. I got the margin which I need. So it's no longer nudging right till the edge of that particular rectangle. Now I want to change the font of this info. So again I go back to the editing and I say, okay, the font which I want to choose is firstly, okay, I may want the same margin. So what I do now is, I don't want brown color, I want this color, midnight blue. No, I think that was blue, so it should be, the background was blue, so this should be gold, so I'm calling it gold. And its Arial is a font. Maybe I want to use sans, Comic Sans serif. Okay, I remove that. I don't want Arial. Okay, actually I'm not very happy with this particular font, but it's okay, this is just a demonstration. Now layout, sorry, border, I don't want the, oh, I want the margin, sorry, that's what I had decided. So I copy that code, Control C, come back here. Now which was that rectangle, info.md, no sorry, it was the clicking rectangle. That was menu1.clk. So I write menu1.clk.css. That's a particular rectangle I want to control. So I say that, save that, come here, preview. So you'll see now info in gold with that margin. There it is. There's a margin, there's a big margin, so it is stepped out of that particular rectangle. The margin was quite big. So there it is. So I have info here, I get the information here, I come here, come to the main page, info, that's the information, and I come to the page. Okay, now that we are at it, might as well change the font of this also. So what do I do? The same thing, CSS creator, the margin I'm okay with, Arial, I don't want, sorry, Arial, so I erase that, I double click that, I say gold, no, gold is not what I want this color, medium blue. Then I want it in bold, yes, that's bold, and okay, seems fine. So I Control C, come back here, where is my info MD? This is the info MD. I create a .css, start a new snip, copy that, change the rectangle and save it. That is it. Now I preview it. Now when I preview that, you will find that that particular yellow rectangle in the info has now got Arial. Wow, it's got the right margin which I wanted. So that's a margin over there. Come back here, I got the main page. So there you are, a very simple system which allows you to create a web space with any number of layers. Each layer is a different page, and it's all single page website. If you notice, your URL has not changed, so it's very convenient for people to use your web design, because it's blisteringly fast because only parts of the screen is getting loaded.